Hyderabad to Chennai, Chennai to Bangalore, Bangalore to Delhi. Third, I fly from Hyderabad to Kolkata, Kolkata to Delhi. Fourth option, I fly from Hyderabad to Mizoram, Aizawl, and Aizawl to Delhi. Now tell me, which is the characteristic of scientific method out of this? Straight away, when you have an option flying from Hyderabad to Delhi, it makes sense. That is the scientific method. The shortest, simplest, accurate, easy to implement. That's what the parsimony talks about. Hope these things are clear. Otherwise, try to understand and get back to us for further clarification in our future interactions. All right. Then, types of scientific methods. As in your syllabus in the beginning, we have seen exploratory, explanatory, and descriptive. All right. Okay. Hope you are able to see this slide, types of scientific method. Somebody respond. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, let's go ahead. May I request somebody whose microphone is on to mute? Yes, thanks for that. Yes. Descriptive. What is the descriptive method of research? Attempts to describe systematically a situation or a problem, phenomena, etc. Now, for example, no doubt we all believe using multimedia teaching aids will enhance the students' understanding. Now, you want to know teachers of higher education on this. Then what you can use a method called descriptive research. Opinion of male teachers, female teachers, higher education teachers, teachers teaching in science faculty, social sciences faculty, education faculty, commerce faculty, okay, engineering faculty, medicine, law, dash. So this kind of study we call a descriptive research. Example, the structure of a system, organization, etc. Then what is correlational research? For example, suppose what I wanted to study is students who are doing very good in mathematics tend to do very well in physical sciences. Historically, we know this. Normally, we observe in the high school, children who are doing very good at math also getting good scores in physical sciences. Students who are good at their mother tongue tend to learn the other languages better. If you are very good at English, your chances of good scores in Hindi or other language, your mother tongue, also increases. Why? There are certain correlations. To discover or establish the existence of a relationship or association or interdependence between two or more aspects of a situation. For example, what is the relationship between achievement in maths and physical science? Is there any significant correlation between students' achievement in mathematics and biological sciences? Are the B.Ed students with science background tend to do better in ICT paper in their final examination? Like this, if you want to find out the relationship between two or more variables, the kind of research you conduct is a correlational research. Then a third, you have an explanatory, attempts to clarify or explain why and how there is a relationship between two aspects of a situation or problem. Here only you are trying to understand what is the relationship between achievement in math and physical science, correlational research. But if you explain the reasons why students getting good scores in math are able to achieve good scores in physical science, why students having good command over English language is able to understand Hindi also better, then that research we call explanatory research. Goes one step beyond this correlational. All right. Then exploratory. What is this exploratory? When the objective is to explore an areas where little known or to investigate the possibility of launching a particular research study. When you are taking the research study new, afresh, novel, not many studies or almost no studies are there in that area. For example, what is the impact of COVID on the students' further education? Students affected with COVID, is there any behavioral change in their further learning? Now, recently COVID has come. So, students' behavioral change due to COVID impact, you can't study in one day, 1 week, right? Over a period of time, at least 2 years, 3 years, you have to study and then come out. Now, if you are taking such new problems where not much research for several years happened, is an exploratory research. Then finally, emancipatory is action research. Any of these 4 types, if you are applying in your classroom situation, in your day-to-day life, in your educational administration, that becomes an emancipatory. By the way, as for our exam syllabus, it is exploratory, explanatory, and descriptive. 3 are given. So try to understand these 3 better. But anyway, some options may be given. So therefore, to have an idea about all these 5 will be an advantage. All right. Okay. Good. Let's move on from here. The next. Aims of research as a scientific activity. In the beginning, we said why research? Problem solving, theory building, prediction. What will happen in future? So some problem solving. What is the problem solving? Students are not motivated in the classroom. You are teaching like me with a lot of enthusiasm, but some of your students are not showing interest. Okay. Then what do? So this is a problem. Teacher want to solve this. So one, action research. So I will use a PPT like this. Then what happens? Where the children will look? Definitely will be looking the projection of this PPT, also listening to me. In between, I'll stop and ask some questions. I also give an opportunity to ask their doubts. Then what happens? This problem tend to solve. Sometimes may not be solved. Then again you introspect. I have tried this, but still this doesn't work. What else can be done? Like this, problem solving is one of the aim of scientific activity or the research. Similarly, theory building. We have certain theories in philosophy, in psychology, educational technology, sociology, and all these areas. All right. For example, for a long period, we are using these behavioristic theories in psychology. Your trial and error, right? And then Pavlov's theory, classical conditioning, Skinner's theory, operant conditioning, and later on your Gestalt theory has come, right? So building these new theories, constructivist approach these days is a new theory that's built recently we are using. Then prediction, what will happen? If tension is increased, exam scores, what happens to them? Even that is also one of the aim of scientific research, prediction. If new teaching aid introduced, how scores are going to be influenced? Again, it's based on or aimed at prediction. All right. Okay. Then let's move on. So types of research in detail explained, and this I skip for paucity of time, but you can go through at your own convenient time and get back for further clarifications. All right. Then approaches to educational research. In the beginning, when I showed you, we also have this qualitative and quantitative research as a part of our syllabus. So it's important for you to understand. Let us spare some time on this. Okay. So here you have the qualitative data, and here you have quantitative data. So base of comparison, what is the definition of qualitative data? Qualitative data is information that can be expressed as a number. So if the information can be expressed as a number, for example, the scores or marks of the student, that can be expressed as a number 50, 60, 70. If not marks, grades, A grade, B grade, C grade, O grade. That is a here I am talking about qualitative data, right? That is a quantitative data. When you can express the marks as a number or can be quantified, this is quantitative data. But language ability of the student, fluency of English language. Yes, excellent fluent like native speaker, fluent mostly comparable to native speaker, practical knowledge manageable in daily life situation, poor knowledge of the language, cannot speak at all. This way I can say, but I can't say 50% language he has, 70% language he has, 90% language. That doesn't make sense, right? Percentage of language capacity. So in that case, data belongs to which category? Qualitative data. Okay. So what is the limitation of qualitative data? Can data be counted? No, you can't count in qualitative data. But where it can be counted? Quantitative data. All right. So what will be there under qualitative data? For example, the data type, words, objects, pictures, observations, symbols. Right? Words, just now I have explained the language ability. Right? Similarly, the pictures, emojis, okay, smiley, frowny, moderate, undecided, all these qualitative data. On the other hand, number and statistics, when I say 60 marks, 70%, A grade, B grade, or the statistics, mean is 63.5, median is 57, standard deviation is 10.5, all this is a quantitative data. Now, question pertinent to our examination is what type of questions you can expect on this, how to answer them. So please listen carefully, you have to respond at this juncture and we will move ahead. Question is, which of the following belongs to qualitative data? Option A, marks are indicated. Option B, grades are shown. Option C, ranks are given. Option D, result given in description of words. Now, which of these four is a qualitative data? Marks, grades, ranks, results given in descriptive words. Yes, the first response from Joseph, D. Congratulations. That's right. Because result given in, yes, DR4. DR4, yes. Many are responding good. Anvesha, Silfi, Lal Chumni, I'm sorry. Some names I can't pronounce easily and properly. Understand my limitation. Otherwise, I recognize Mimi, Chiana, and many others are good. That's fine. You got the point, right? Okay. And another indirect question may be asked like this. Listen once again carefully. You need to answer at the end of it. Okay. In the data given, numbers and statistics are indicated. The research conducted and the analysis belongs to this type: qualitative research, quantitative research, both the above, none of the above. When numbers and statistics are given, it belongs to qualitative, quantitative, both the above, none of the above. Yes, your answers in terms of A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3, 4, your choice. No problem. But preferably give 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, somebody caught it. Lal Chukmini, quantitative. Yes, because numbers and statistics are given. Therefore, it becomes quantitative. All right, if some of you are still facing some problem to catch up those words, don't worry. We'll give you this objective type of questions, answer them, and share that your responses to Muthu in the WhatsApp. Any questions are there? Finally, I'll be clarifying them on. All right. Okay. Let's move on. Now, designs in educational research, descriptive, experimental, and historical is another aspect of looking at the designs of research, right? Types of research also we have seen previously. Now, this we talk about designs, because in what is your research design is one important aspect of research proposal or research thesis or research report, right? So, there are three broader designs of research called historical, descriptive, and experimental. What is historical? If your research talks about past, what was the educational practices during British rule in India? Now tell me, this statement of research study belongs to which of the following type? Historical, descriptive, experimental, none of the above. What was the educational practices in India during British time? Is it about present or past or future? Obviously, it is past. So therefore, yes, Anvesha says historical. That's correct. Because it is about past, it's yes, historical research. What was the budget given for Indian schools between 1930 and 45? This kind of study belongs to the following design of research: historical, descriptive, experimental, all the above. Yes. Yes, once again it is past, therefore it is historical. What is this time? It is talking about what was the budget at that time. But suppose if the question is what was the budget in allocated in 2023-24 financial year for education in India at national level. Now this belongs to historical research, option 1, option 2 descriptive research, option 3 experimental research, option 4 none of the above. Yes, please do respond. What is the budget allocated? I'm repeating the question. Listen carefully. You have to answer, by the way. What is the budget allocated during the financial 23-24 by central government for education in India? Belongs to the following type of research design: historical, option 1, option 2 descriptive, option 3 experimental, option 4 all the above. It is current, present, right? What is it is talking about? Good. Many of you are responding now. It is descriptive because talking about present. What is the budget? Okay. What will the budget requirement in 2030 to meet the educational needs in India? Belongs to the following type of research: option 1 historical design, option 2 descriptive design, option 3 experimental design, option 4 qualitative design. So what do you go with? Good. Responses comes experimental, experimental. Yes. Good. That's great. Because it's talking about 2030, future, what it can be, what will be the requirement at that time. So therefore it belongs to like this, looking at the statement, whether the statement is talking about past and what was some time back, what is the present or what is going on now, current situation, descriptive, or what it is talking about the future. So based on that, you can identify that is research design. All right. So this is in detail about that. So for paucity of time, I'm skipping it. Anyway, when we share the PPT, it will be well for you. Go through. You can get back to us. All right. With this, we have done with part A, and then about to start with part B. But I hope we have done already 1.5 hours. But it's okay, for another half an hour I can spare. If you are also steps of writing research proposal, concept of universe and sample, tools of research, types of tools, as many as possible we'll see right now, and the remaining again will be continuing on the Thursday session. Today being Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday we'll share you the multiple choice questions on these topics. You have to answer and share your answers, and also ask your queries or doubts and clarifications any on Thursday, because yesterday for inaugural and other general introductory and explain about the test and syllabus, we have consumed some time. That's okay. So you have one bonus compensatory class for this on my side. On Thursday, one extra class I'll take. So we will go ahead. We'll cover the balance, because instead of quickly running through this, actually initially we planned for 10 days each of unit, but now for some practical reasons we have to confine for only weekend classes, 2 days, 2 days. So still okay, something is better than nothing. So if you have the guidance at this level, not that what all that we teach, but based on this, what do you prepare, what do you work, will determine the ultimate result. So we are preparing you to achieve that final result. With this note, let me move on. Yes, to this heading called variables. One of the important concepts in research, in education, or in general any research is what is known as variables. Because once you determine your title, immediately you go for look for what is called variables. What is independent variable? What is dependent variable? What are intervening variables? So therefore, what is a variable basically? The quantity or condition that can change. Variable, the opposite word, antonym of variable is the constant. Constant is the one which doesn't change. For example, your name is a constant. My name is Dr. YAKAIAH, Dr. YAKAIAH, that's it. All right. If somebody else's name is Lal Chudni, it is Lal Chudni forever. Normally names are constant, but your age, my age is 10 years back 44 and now it is 54, which is a variable. Teacher who is teaching the class is a constant, but the method teacher using to teach the class is variable because method changes. In one class he uses lecture method, in other class demonstration method, in other class experimental method, in other class like this, PPT presentation, so on and so forth. So therefore a quantity or condition that can change is known as variable. Anything that has a quantity or quality that varies is changes. All right. Now, so how many types of variables are there in a research? Broadly, we talk about three types of variables: the independent variable, then dependent variable, and intervening variables. Independent variable, dependent variable, and intervening variable. So now let us look at each of them. What is an independent variable? A variable that we can control, or otherwise independent variable is also known as cause. What is dependent variable? Effect. X is the cause, Y is the effect. Let us say the method of teaching is X, multimedia based teaching. The result, achievement of the students, effect, Y. So this cause is independent variable, method of teaching. This effect, achievement increase or decrease in the achievement, is the dependent variable, the effect or the result. So in an experiment or in a research study, the cause, what we introduce, what we control, what we choose, are the independent variable. For example, look at here, independent variable is also called exposure, explanatory, manipulated variables. Now let us take, when you study the impact of multimedia based teaching, normally in an experimental study you will have two groups, right? The experimental group and the control group. Whom do you use this multimedia based teaching to? Experimental group, not to the control group, right? So what are you doing? You are exposing that group to this. If there is any improvement in their achievement, what is the cause? The cause is this particular method of teaching called multimedia based teaching. So therefore the exposure, the cause, the explanatory or the manipulated variable is independent variable. So now what kind of questions you may expect in the exam you have to answer. Now listen carefully, try to answer. If you don't answer also it's okay, it's a beginning, I understand. Which of the following can be manipulated by the experimenter? Option 1, independent variable. Option 2, dependent variable. Option 3, intervening variables. Option 4, none of the above. Can I get some option responses? Yes. Which of the following are manipulated, can be manipulated by the experimenter? See, on this slide you could find manipulated variables are independent. Yes. Option 1, independent variables is the right answer. All right. So it's also known as causative variables. It is also exposure condition, explanatory condition, or manipulated variable. So this terminology you need to have an understanding so that you will be able to answer properly. All right. Moving on to the next is dependent variable. What is that? Dependent variable? A variable that we can observe or measure. For example, this time it is the effect. It is also known as effect. Dependent variable is also known as outcome or explained or response variable. Multimedia teaching was the independent variable. Achievement level of the student is the dependent variable. Why? Achievement is outcome. Achievement is explained in terms of the method of teaching. Achievement is the response variable in response to the independent variable. Now here one example is given. See, amount of water pour versus amount of the growth in the plants. Now what is the outcome? Amount of growth. So therefore that is dependent variable. What is the cause? Cause is the amount of water given to that plant. So this amount of water given to the plant is independent variable. Amount of growth as an outcome, as a response to the amount of water given, is the dependent variable. All right. Hope it's clear, and we will move on from here. Yes. Now see, we are comparing at one place. X impact on Y. Here let us say X method of teaching, Y outcome of the student, achievement of the student. Now X is the cause, Y is the effect. X is manipulated. Why? Teacher can use either multimedia based teaching or traditional teaching, lecture method or demonstration method or experimental method. This is manipulated. And whereas this is measured, then what is the achievement level? 60%, 50%, 70%, 90%. So therefore, this cause or manipulated variable is known as independent variable. On the other hand, the effect or the measured outcome result is known as dependent variable. All right. Yes. So types of variables in detail explained here. I leave this left part for you to go through later on when you get this PPT after my presentation. And control variable is a new concept. What is this? Controlled variable is the one which is investigator holds constant or controls during the experiment. Thus, we also know the control variable as a constant variable or sometimes as a control only. I hope for most of you this control variable is a new terminology, but let me give you one very familiar, well-known terminology for this control variable is intervening variable. Independent variable is you are introducing, dependent variable is the result you are measuring, but your dependent variable does not depend only on independent variable. There are some other variables, right? For example, in the previous example, when we said, for example, your method of teaching influences achievement, no doubt. But is that only method of teaching will influence the student's achievement in academics? No, his interest, his personal health, home environment, friends and other members' cooperation or interference or obstacles. These all are there, but in our research, we are not studying that. We are studying only these. The relationship between independent and dependent variable. But there are certain other variables which also tend to influence the research results, which are known as intervening variables. That intervening variables, here the word used is controlled variables. So somewhere if you come across controlled variable, please understand that what is referred is the intervening variable, right? That was in detail explained here. Z, compounding or mediating or moderating variable. Independent variable influence is studied on dependent variable in our research, but there are certain intervening variables that are compounding, mediating or moderating. Now the important for us from examination point of view is, what do you do with these controlling variables or compounding variables or intervening variables? Independent variable, we introduce, control, manipulate. Dependent variable, we measure. And intervening variables are kept constant. Which of the following variables are kept constant during the research? Listen my question carefully. Which of the following type of variables are kept constant during the research process? Independent variable, dependent variable, intervening variable, all the above variables. Which one? Yes, it's only intervening variables are the compounding variables or mediating or moderating variables. So this is important from examination point of view. All right. Having known that, let's move on. These are interrelationship is in detail explained. I'm skipping for paucity of time for now. But ultimately, please note that, yes, there are intervening variables in between. This is independent, this is dependent in between. For example, level of education, spending. Obviously, school level you spend little, and intermediate highest you are spending, and degree again moderate, and PG or PhD again higher spending. Higher education, better occupation, higher income. Poverty, lack of access to healthcare, shorter longevity, die at early age. This is independent variable, poverty, which influences your longevity, age at which one will die, early or till old age. But in between, the healthcare facilities also influences it, not only your poverty. So this is intervening variable. All right, these all are intervening variable. These are independent variable. These are dependent variables. Okay. All right. So active variable and attribute variable. So independent variables are active variables. The new term you need to know here is attribute variable. There are certain variables known as attribute variable. What are these? Variables which cannot be manipulated. For example, age. Age, do we manipulate? We change the age of the student? We don't change. But if you want different age groups, you select 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. Gender, male, female, third gender are there. You don't change anybody's gender. Only attribute. You take what exists. Blood group. Blood groups, we don't change the patient's blood group or the student's blood group. But you choose which blood group you want. Only one blood group you want to study, 2 blood groups, 3 blood groups. Similarly, color of the eyes. Urban, rural is another phenomena. Tribal or non-tribal. If you have a religion, again, for example, religion is also an attribute variable. We don't change anybody's religion, right? You choose what all religions you want. You want to study only Hindus, only Christians, only Muslims, you study. You want to compare Hindus and Christians, you choose 2 groups. You want to compare all the 3 religions, you choose all the 3. So attribute variables are which we don't manipulate or which we don't change. That is important point. Variables which cannot be manipulated are attribute variables. On the other hand, variables which can be manipulated are active variables. Just for your information, if you get it is good. If you don't get, still okay. Not a big deal here. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next, demographic variables. Another very common word we come across. Right? What are demographic variables? If I give you examples, I hope you will straight away get this. Age, gender, occupation, marital status, income, opinion of the teachers about the new education policy you are studying. Now, independent variable is opinion of the teachers. It can vary. Dependent variable, NEP, is their opinion on national policy on education. But in between, when you study this also: age of the teacher, gender of the teacher, occupation, marital status, income, qualification, experience, subject to teach, locality where they are working. Now, all these are called as demographic. Therefore, demographic variables are characteristics or attributes of subjects that are controlled to describe the sample. They are also called sample characteristics. Sometimes we call demographic variables as sample character because all these are related to your sample: age, gender, occupation, marital status, income. It means these variables describe study sample and determine if samples are representative of the population of interest. So we will see demographic variables are represented in our study. When you say teachers, you don't take only urban teachers, you take urban and rural teachers. If you don't say what level of teachers, you don't take only higher education, you take higher education, intermediate and secondary school teachers. All right. Then what do you have is dichotomous variables, trichotomous variables and multivariables. It's okay. If you look at once, you will get that. Dichotomous can be divided into only two groups. For example, gender, male, female, locality, urban, rural, dichotomy. But the same locality, if you take urban, suburban and rural, urban, semi-urban and rural, then what it become? Instead of dichotomous variable, it will turn into trichotomous variable. Pregnant, non-pregnant, dichotomous. Active, alive, dead, literate, illiterate. Only two groups. If you can divide your sample into only two groups based on that characteristic, it is dichotomous variable. If you can divide them into three groups, for example, religion, Hindu, Muslim and Christian, this is trichotomous. If there are blood groups, if there are achievement levels, A grade, B grade, O grade, C grade, then it is multiple variables. Just for your information, don't worry. Then extraneous variable, in the beginning we have said all those your intervening variables are extraneous variables, right? And let's move on. Only a further explanation of those things. Types of extraneous variables also given here. Then the next subtopic as per our syllabus we have is measuring variables: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale and ratio scale. In tomorrow's the next session, that is on Thursday, we'll get in detail, but for now the nominal scale is only categorization. Suppose if I take a gender, what will be there? Male, female and third gender. If I take locality, rural, urban, or rural, urban and semi-urban, if that is the classification, the measuring scale is known as nominal. But suppose if I go further quantitative or order, rank, first rank, second rank, third rank, then your tool measuring is ordinal level. Along with the quantitative order, if I have equal intervals, IQ 20, 30, 40, 50, 20 to 70, 70 to 90, 90 to 110, 110 to 130, these kind of intervals are also there, then it is called interval scale. And then finally, absolute zero is also possible. Though as yesterday I was telling you, IQ of student 70 and second student with IQ 90, you can't add these two and say 160 IQ, therefore extraordinary genius, these two together. You can't say because there is no absolute zero. But if a student weight is 50 kgs, second student weight is 70 kgs, together their weight is 120 kgs. Yes, yes, absolute. That's what absolute zero is. Numbers can be added, subtracted, multiplied. In that case, we call ratio. These are the four scales when you collect your data. In details, tomorrow we will see. For now, just mention is good enough. Then composite variable, when you have a combination of two or more. We have seen that independent variable, dependent variable and intervening variable. Two or more, and then that's a composite variable. The next subtopic goes to the hypothesis as per our syllabus. Okay, for today we will see only hypothesis and we'll pass after this. All right. Hope you are all there with me. Somebody respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because absolute silence, either you are very much attentive or you are not there. But that won't be, I know. At least some of you are have expressed your interest and it's good. So I'm sure you are with us. Yeah, I could see still 15 are there with us. Let's go ahead. Yes. Hypothesis, concepts, sources and types. Research hypothesis: directional, non-directional and null. In fact, only these three types of hypothesis are there: directional, non-directional and null. Any of these are called research hypothesis. All right. To begin with, what is hypothesis? Let us see. You could see here, a hypothesis is an assumption, an idea that is proposed for sake of argument so that it can be tested to see if it might be true. In a simple word, hypothesis is a tentative statement. Hypothesis is not proposed solution, one of the solutions, maybe may not be. If it is accepted, it becomes solution. If it is rejected, it is not the solution. So therefore, what do you do with the hypothesis? It is to be tested, proposed for the sake of argument, or it can be tested to see if it might be true. So therefore, when you are studying the impact of a new teaching aid, what do? Okay, somebody say, please summarize the variables. I hope independent, dependent, intervening. These three are important from your exam point of view or the knowledge understanding required. Independent are those which we as a researcher introducing, manipulating, controlling. Dependent are those which we are measuring as a result. Independent being cause, dependent will be the effect, and then intervening is apart from independent variable, what other variables can influence the results is the intervening variables. All right, this is a brief summary of that. Now moving on back to the hypothesis. What is hypothesis? An assumption or a tentative statement which you want to argue true or false, which you want to test acceptable or reject. Now, for example, when you are studying the influence of multimedia teaching on achievement, probably one assumption you can have is multimedia teaching will improve the achievement of the students. This is one hypothesis. Or a second hypothesis you may frame, there is no impact of multimedia teaching on the achievement of the students. Why should I say as a researcher in the beginning, yes, it will improve? Don't know, because it's a new method. It may improve or it may not improve. So therefore, I want to study, which we all know, that null hypothesis. No significant difference, no significant result, no significant correlation. Hypothesis proposed on this proposition of no difference, no correlation are known as null hypothesis. But previously, I have proposed in the first what I said, the multimedia teaching will enhance the scores of the learners, achievement of the learners. That is what is known as directional hypothesis. Suppose if I state the same hypothesis in this way, there will be an influence of multimedia teaching on the learning outcome of the students. The multimedia based teaching will influence or impact the learning outcome of the students. Now, what is that hypothesis known as? Non-directional. I am saying there will be influence, but I did not say influence is positive or negative. Earlier, when I said it is going to improve, it is directional. Now, I am saying it impact, but whether positive or negative direction, I am not showing. Non-directional. Or my assumption is there is no significant difference at all. It is null hypothesis. In all the three cases, it is only a, what is it? Assumption. Why? At this stage, you did not collect the data, you did not analyze the data, you did not verify the hypothesis. Therefore, initially, every hypothesis is only an assumption. All right, this is important thing you need to do. Then second thing, what do you do with this assumption? Either you argue if it is a qualitative or theoretical research, or you will test it is a quantitative or experimental research. So therefore, which of the following is true with regard to the hypothesis? Listen, this question you have to answer it, then I'll understand whether you got it or not. The question is, which of the following statement is not true with regard to hypothesis? Option 1, hypothesis is an assumption. Option 2, hypothesis is proposed to argue. Option 3, hypothesis is proposed to test it. Option 4, hypothesis is proposed to prove it. Now, which one is not true? Yes, from this definition you could see, yes, hypothesis is an assumption. Hypothesis need to be argued. Hypothesis need to be tested. But hypothesis is not for proving. Always we don't prove. We don't prove hypothesis, we don't disprove hypothesis. Researcher intention is not proving or disproving. Yes, researcher intention is to argue it or to test it. Therefore, option 4, proving the hypothesis or accepting the, you may accept or you may reject. It may be proved or it may be disproved. So therefore, proving hypothesis, accepting hypothesis are not true statement in this context. Good, congratulations PT and Shilpi, both of you answered correct. All right, chalo. Therefore, see in this table, both null hypothesis, directional hypothesis and non-directional hypothesis is given. See, null hypothesis predicts no significant difference between two groups with respect to the variables being tested. It could be variables or groups also. Suppose if I say there is no significant difference between boys and girls in their achievement as a result of multimedia teaching. Now this is no significant, I said, therefore it is null hypothesis between two groups. Then directional hypothesis predicts a specific difference between two groups with respect to the variable being tested. Girls' performance will be better than that of the boys as a result of multimedia teaching. Now what is this hypothesis? Is a directional hypothesis. The non-directional predicts a difference between two groups with respect to the variable being tested, but not what the difference will be. There will be a significant difference between the boys and girls achievement. I said significant difference between boys and girls, but whether boys will do better, girls will do better, I did not mention. Therefore, it is non-directional hypothesis. Hope you got the difference between